And we are back. Sorry for my computer being really noisy. I guess it's just overworked today. I don't know. We have one Robot Master left. Obviously, I didn't save the best for last, and I didn't save the worst for last either. Not that this is a good, not that this is a good stage, and an even less good boss. Take a shot every time you see a random Met. Never shows up again. JK, this happens once. Again, random Met is random. This is the game that made me hate Mets. Oh, that's a hitbox. And not how I would position a Picket Man either, although we will see another one that's positioned a bit more regularly. I mean, more normally. It's not exactly parallaxing, but you know, the background is like independent of the foreground scrolling, which is interesting. Kind of cool. Well, by eternal standards anyway. I mean, it at least knows how to animate tiles. Speaking of, this was obviously taken straight from fucking Paradise, Mega Man Paradise. Which, you know your game is good when it has Mega Man Paradise graphics. Like, graphics made specifically for Mega Man Paradise, which there aren't a lot of. Again, it could be like, you know, another like crowdsourced thing, but that's still hilarious. Yeah, more Gyros and Turbo Man flamethrowers and 7 Famicom junk tiles. Yep, nothing we haven't already seen before from the stage. Lots of the same. Even has vertical hazards combining with sheep conveyors. Deja vu. Pretty sure you can kill this from a distance, but it's a better position than the first time we saw it, I guess. I think it also dings Mega Man 1 style, so there's that. More of these recolored Super Ball Machine Juniors that are named after the Needleman cannons. Udai. Hodai? Hodai. My bad. This challenge is interesting. There are a couple interesting sections here and there, but more lyric tellies. How many stages have we seen those in? Like 3 others at least. Kind of makes them unspecial. Again, another enemy that hops back and forth, except this time this position is a bit more challenging. You do have to kind of, you know, not half-ass it. This screen is a bit interesting. You kind of want to take your time if you don't want to get knocked back comboed into the frickin' lava. So obviously, like, the fire gyro, whatever, is rather cruelly placed. You can slide under the projectiles, but still a bit tricky, and with everything else going on, you kind of want to single out the lyric telly before you continue on, especially since dealing with it here, you'll probably headbutt into the flames and die anyway. Originally, this stage was gonna have a lot more puzzle. It was obviously, in Eternal fashion, it was going to be a bit more puzzle-oriented, where there would be sort of floating blocks on lava that you would like maybe push. Instead, we have more, actual, like, Gyroman-styled falling blocks, except this time, how they work is a bit, I'm not going to say problematic, but it's a bit weird and convoluted, this first encounter isn't taught inappropriately, but there's a little oddity with the specific blocks that probably should have been taught a bit more appropriately. You can't see it from here, but stepping on a middle block will trigger all the blocks to the right of it to fall as well, but not the blocks to the left of it. So, if I were to accidentally step on this block, this first one, and then backtrack, the others would follow, and I would probably frickin' die. So, case in point. Yeah. The frickin' Firebirds and the Hop Devils aren't atrociously placed and kind of run under most of the Firebirds without having to worry about anything. And a lot of the Hop Devils can be taken out from a distance, but as a section, it does feel relatively interesting, and it's more varied than Eternal usually is, and everything does feel like it's being combined appropriately, so it makes for a memorable stretch. Yeah. Oh yeah, another piece of trivia that I forgot to mention in Primal Stage, that theme was originally composed for this level by, of course, Devil, who, if you don't already know, I am a big fan of. Here we have the Punk Joe. I confirm, as seen before, it has 6 HP, not 5, so it's slightly different from the Captain Joe. Okay, it's not a carbon copy, guys, I swear. It's 1 extra HP, shut up. Yeah. In this screen, we have seen this gimmick before. And yes, if you do revisit Joltman's stage, then with his own weapon, then you can bypass all the secrets that way, which is an admittedly nice detail. But I'll talk more about the weapons later. You hit your head on nothing. It's the legendary Nico line where it originated from. Well, maybe also said in 2.5D. I don't remember, but of course you can just do that anyway. So again, I already talked about how the ceiling is just a band-aid. That position is actually pretty interesting and kind of tight. I kind of like it. But that's kind of where it ends, because then it's just kind of low difficulty curves. Well, obviously there aren't really like intended difficulty curves in this game that I was able to find. It just kind of goes all over the place without really a rhyme or reason. It's like Clamp. It's an inoffensive stage because it has pretty conventional. Wow, I'm really sucking here. It has pretty conventional gimmicks, but it doesn't really like. I'm just. I don't know what's going on. Why I'm failing this jump, but there you go. I guess it's partially a testament to Eternal's really fast jump and fall. Yeah. Not really a fan of that. Again, you can't scroll reset this room, so you do have to kill these in a set amount of time. Yeah. This is a bit interesting in that we're now combining the conveyors with the frickin' blocks from before. Except there aren't any enemies. Otherwise I would have said this was like a nice subtle nod to Solar Stage, which did a similar thing with its conveyors, and then combining them with the shanky spawners at the end. But no, there aren't any enemies. It's just a short, I don't know, platformer section. And then suddenly a bunch of enemies! Whoa! Whoa! Hey there! Whoa! Whoa! It's like 7 different things going on if you count the 2 conveyors and the 2 flame generator things. Yeah. Again, another interesting challenge with the Hop Devil. It's a bit more varied than Eternal usually is, but that's the stage. That's the whole stage. Not much happened, in my opinion. Like, there wasn't really like a setup or a magnificent payoff. Just a bunch of random things, randomly placed. Not much rhyme or reason. Another pit. But the boss is, oh yeah, and the frickin' you can see in the background the sun on the horizon between the water and the sky. There's sort of like a hatching section, but to the right of that, it's not there. It's just orange, just bright orange. It looks really awkward, and I don't understand it. But yeah, time for the actual boss. His name was the same, but originally he had a giant sort of tiki mask. So obviously, this would be, he doesn't look like that now, because Raging Bonobo doesn't really do that with the sprites. It looks more like a Burner Man knockoff. And so that concept would obviously carry over into Eternal too. So The more you know. Cool trivia. This boss is not as bad as Cypher Man, but it comes pretty damn close. Because he has 6 different moves this time, more than any other boss so far. If you count his jumping, he has 6 different freaking moves. He delivers them rapid fire without any warning or rhyme or reason. There isn't really like a way to dodge it reliably. There are some moves where you want to keep your distance and other moves where you want to stay close. Sometimes they're performed one after the other, simultaneously. The hitboxes when he ignites himself are atrociously large. It's all the classic hallmarks of an Eternal boss that we've seen so far, except 1,000 times worse. But I still rank Cypher Man slightly below because his pattern is highly convoluted, and you can exploit it by just standing in place. Here you do have to kind of move around, so it gets like a fraction of a brownie point in its favor. Yeah. But, oh yeah, and again, he has the same sprite when he charges just regularly towards you, and when he does this specific move in particular. There's a different one where he there's a different move where he charges just at you, sort of Clampman styled. So yet another classic Eternal error. I believe this is a Hell's Gate situation where he does it more frequently on low health. Now he just spams it whenever he feels like it. I don't want to waste my goddamn time. I'm using the weakness. Goodbye. I said. Oh yeah, the weakness also makes no sense. I don't get what the correlation is. Not even between tikis. Like, how do noises knock out tikis? I'll never understand. That's a thing. I mean, weaknesses don't always have to make sense if all 7 of the other weapons work, but I'm just saying. I mean, like, you know, like if at least 7 of the, you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, that was not a good boss at all. I don't think it would be savable even if you slowed it down. I would probably I would remove a couple moves and fix the hitboxes and either slow it down or add telegraphs again, you know. A lot of the stuff we've seen before, but multiplied on itself to just make an even larger pile of shit, I guess. The base sprite, it's like nearest neighbored. Like, okay, the other sprites look regular when they're at the center, but this is like nearest neighbor expanded, and then when you zoom out, it's nearest neighbored after being nearest neighbored, which just makes it funnier. It looks like his like jaw is just unhinged like a frickin' snake. But yeah, this is our last intermediary encounter, I guess. Oh whoa, it's more Slither Incorporated ships. Oh whoa, it's Burnt Black from ZX. It's an homage to the legendary scene where shit gets serious on the highway, and a frickin' serpent really means business. Oh no. Also on this transition, you will see that the water, the water on the horizon is different from the is on a different layer from the water on the castle. So it'll just make sense when I transition. Yeah, see, this water in front is on a different layer. I guess a vaguely cool animation. Not a fan of the transparent, again, the increasing alpha, but whatever. The thing with nearest neighboring is it looks better with 16-bit and 32-bit graphics because there's already more detail. But here, when the sprites are already like shrunken down, it just looks, and they have like a minimalist color palette. It just looks like compressed beyond recognition almost. So that's why I don't encourage nearest neighboring for 8-bit styled graphics, but that's just me. Oh, more earthquakes and giant phallic towers in the background. Obviously a Wily castle, partially underwater, Game Boy styled. Wouldn't be a Game Boy game without the castle being like underground or underwater or something. Here we have a copy robot, but as a regular stock enemy this time, and it has different moves from different robot masters from each of the 6 games, I guess, in the hexology. More Scorch Man stuff going on. Again, enemies kind of placed randomly. I was about to say the copy robot has kind of a cool AI, except for the Windman attack where he tries to charge at you. He can do it off screen and ambush you. It feels a bit sudden and awkward, and sometimes he can just fly away like that. So that's pretty damn funny. I usually like to clamp ring them to get by, but I think I should start finally showing off the weapons and what they're capable of. So Illusion Blast, as you've seen before, homes in, dive missile style. It's really fast, and it only deals 1 damage, but it's... well, I'll get to that later, but it's pretty effective. Scorch Flame, you just ignite yourself, and then you spam a bunch of flames sideways. Not specifically on the ground, just sideways. Not sure why this one was on flat ground, like, super far away from you. Again, it feels like it's at the bottom of the difficulty curve. Like the first time you'd see this enemy. But no, we saw it a couple times earlier. Again, enemies kind of placed randomly with no real, like, intent of a... okay, not everything needs to have, like, a difficulty curve, but, like, when you don't follow that, it just feels like they're placed where they are for no reason whatsoever. Like, the contexts are kind of different each time, but it doesn't really... it just feels random. Cipher Decode is a fast horizontal projectile that stops to deal extra damage as it comes in contact with something, and it slows down and deals and drains extra energy if it has to process what it's dealing damage to. I think if it successfully deals damage to something, it restores some of its energy back. So that's kind of a weird but interesting mechanic, even though it drains energy a lot more quickly than the other weapons, so I find it to be completely useless, especially when we get to Jolt Shocker. Tune Note, as you saw before, is just a sinusoidal projectile. Really impractical. Deals 1 damage also. So it's like, why would you use it over frickin' Illusion Blast or something? Primal Bomb, for some reason, deals large amounts of damage to objects, exploding when it hits an enemy, not necessarily a wall. Obviously looks like a bunch of frickin' cookies, haha. Then we have Frigid Frost, which does the same, except it splits into extra mini projectiles, Shotgun Ice style, I guess. Then we've seen Clamp Ring before. Freezes an enemy and renders it intangible before dealing a bit of extra damage. And then we have Jolt Shocker, which is a fast horizontal projectile that accelerates speed after hitting an enemy. Oh, that's hilarious. So, yeah. Why would you use Cipher Decode over this? And we have, like, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, almost the entire arsenal is just horizontal projectiles. And Tune Note, you're still just moving left and right. And then, you know. And then Blade Missile, we've seen before. Same shtick. Punk Needles is a bit interesting that you aim it and that it auto-aims diagonally upward, and then sort of splits off, and it's really impractical, but it's kind of fun to use, and you can spam it, which is something. And then Anchor Lance is another horizontal projectile. Oh boy! But all of the killer weapons deal 2 damage to everything. All bosses, and all enemies, and then all the regular weapons deal 1 damage to everything, aside from their respective weaknesses. So yeah, that's kind of why the weapons suck. Once again, I mean, they have their some of them have their individual uses. Illusion Blast definitely. Scorch Flame almost never, except when there are ice blocks around. So it really depends on. So really, just 3 stages. Cipher Decode never, except for weaknesses once again. Oh yeah, obviously bosses have, you know, a singular weakness, but, you know, other than that, like Fortress bosses, but we'll get to that. But, like, there aren't any damage tables aside from, like, 1 weakness per boss, from what I've been able to find. Primal Bomb, yeah, if you want to do extra damage, it's a bit interchangeable with Frigid Frost, except this breaks walls, I guess, so there's that utility. Jolt Shocker, if you just want spam, then there it is. It's like your Laser Trident, I guess. Again, why would you use Decode? I don't know. Clamp Ring, if you can, you know, it's actually incredibly useful considering Eternal's tanky enemies and, you know, knockback unforgivability, so let me see if you can clamp and then switch to a different weapon, actually. You can. Alright, that makes it useful, yeah. But since all the killer weapons deal, you know, 2 damage, why would you use any of the other weapons? It's a really just a bad way to balance things. Goodbye. Whoops. Again, enemies can kind of attack you from off-screen like that. It doesn't feel intentional. I have a similar problem with one enemy in Voltman stage in Y+1, but we'll see if that gets fixed in the final version of the game or whatever, or in a second beta. I don't know. Not sure why I did that, but whoops. But, yeah, that's kind of why I haven't been using the weapons anyway. Even though I'm a Snupster % boy, they really don't have much use outside of the weaknesses, which, I don't know, kind of... That's kind of not what Mega Man's about. You don't... not everyone plays Mega Man differently, and not everyone is going to save weapons just for the boss weaknesses. They're gonna want to try to... No, haha. They're gonna want to try to experiment a little, or something. But, this game doesn't do that. I'm gonna just kill myself real quick because this is... No, I think I'm gonna... I don't think it would matter. I'm just gonna go. Yeah, Base. He works very similarly to his first Wily encounter in Mega Man 7, except somehow worse, which is rather impressive. He can kind of corner you. It's kind of unavoidable damage. It's incredibly cumbersome and difficult to dodge. Just, did I use up a tank already? Wow. Just overall, not a good pattern. Really fucking bad. I'd fix the hitbox for one thing. I'd make the jump less awkward, like an actual arc. You know, there are so many things. A lot of the later Wily stages feel like they were made before the Robot Master stages, and that's obviously not always the case, but for some of the fights it definitely is. But we'll kind of get to that later. Yeah. But I think that actually wraps it up for this episode. Yeah, you kind of start to see the cracks slipping, like showing through the game, I guess. And it's all downhill from here. So, until next time, this is Lava Man, signing off.